U-281 was a German Type 7C submarine commissioned during World War II, built as part of Nazi Germany's aggressive submarine warfare strategy aimed at disrupting Allied shipping in the Atlantic. The submarine was laid down on May 7, 1942, at the Bremer-Vulkan shipyard in Bremen-Vegesack, one of the many U-boats produced during the height of Germany's naval expansion. She was launched on January 16, 1943, and officially entered service on February 27, 1943, under the command of Oberleutnant Heinz von Davidson. As a Type 7C U-boat, U-281 was an improved version of earlier models and became one of the most common submarine types in the Kriegsmarine. These boats were designed for long-range missions and were highly effective in coordinated wolf-pack attacks on Allied convoys. U-281 had a displacement of 769 tons when surfaced and 871 tons when submerged, with a length of 67.1 meters. She was powered by 2 supercharged diesel engines for surface propulsion and 2 electric motors for underwater operation, giving her a top speed of 17.7 knots on the surface and 7.6 knots submerged. With a range of approximately 8,500 nautical miles at 10 knots, U-281 could operate deep into the Atlantic and remain at sea for extended periods, making her a formidable threat to Allied shipping. U-281 was armed with 5 torpedo tubes, 4 in the bow and 1 in the stern, and carried 14 torpedoes, which could be used to target enemy merchant and warships. She was also fitted with an 88 mm deck gun for engaging smaller or unarmed targets on the surface, a common feature on earlier U-boats before the increasing threat of Allied aircraft made surfacing too dangerous. Additionally, she carried anti-aircraft guns to provide some defense against air attacks, though U-boats remained highly vulnerable to aircraft, which played an increasingly decisive role in anti-submarine warfare. Upon commissioning, U-281 underwent rigorous training and testing as part of the 8th U-boat flotilla, a training unit based in the Baltic Sea. Here, her crew learned the complexities of submarine operations, including torpedo firing procedures, emergency drills, and silent running techniques to evade enemy detection. Life aboard a U-boat was physically and mentally demanding, with cramped conditions, limited fresh water, and extended periods submerged. Nonetheless, the crew of U-281 prepared for the dangerous missions ahead, hoping to play their part in Germany's naval war effort. In October 1943, after months of training, U-281 was assigned to the 1st U-boat flotilla for operational duty and embarked on her first war patrol. She set sail on October 6, 1943, tasked with patrolling the North Atlantic, a critical battleground where the Kriegsmarine sought to disrupt Allied supply lines. By this point in the war, the Battle of the Atlantic had reached a turning point, with the Allies increasingly gaining the upper hand. New tactics, including improved sonar, long-range patrol aircraft, and better convoy protection, were making it increasingly difficult for U-boats to operate undetected. U-281's first encounter with enemy forces came on October 17, 1943, when she was detected by a British B-24 Liberator, a long-range maritime patrol aircraft equipped with depth charges and radar. The aircraft attacked, dropping a series of depth charges that exploded around the submarine, violently shaking her hull and causing internal damage. 3 crew members were wounded in the attack, but the crew managed to stabilize the vessel and dive to a safe depth. Despite the damage sustained, U-281 successfully evaded further attacks and continued her patrol. However, she was unable to sink any enemy vessels during this mission. After 51 days at sea, she returned to the U-boat base at Saint-Nazaire, France, on November 26, 1943. Determined to make a greater impact, U-281 embarked on her second patrol on January 5, 1944. This mission took her deeper into the Atlantic, searching for Allied convoys to attack. The patrol lasted 61 days, but once again she failed to score any confirmed kills. By early 1944, the tide had turned against the German U-boat fleet. The Allies had improved their anti-submarine warfare tactics significantly, deploying escort carriers, hunter-killer groups, and more effective radar and sonar systems. U-boats increasingly found themselves outmatched, and many were lost before they could successfully attack a single target. As the war progressed, U-281's operational effectiveness continued to decline. By mid-1944, following the Allied invasion of Normandy, the Kriegsmarine was struggling to maintain its U-boat campaign. With increasing losses and fewer safe harbors available, U-boats found it harder to operate effectively. In an effort to improve survivability, the U-281 was fitted with a Schnorchel device in October 1944, allowing her to operate her diesel engines while submerged, reducing the need to surface and making it harder for Allied aircraft to detect her. However, this upgrade was too little, too late, as the Allies had already gained naval and aerial superiority. On November 5, 1944, U-281 returned to Flensburg, Germany, one of the few remaining U-boat bases still operational. By this time, the Kriegsmarine was in retreat, with many U-boats sunk or trapped in port due to fuel shortages and heavy Allied bombing. The once feared U-boat force, which had terrorized Allied shipping in the early years of the war, was now a shadow of its former self. With Germany facing imminent defeat, U-281 and other surviving U-boats were left with limited options. When Germany unconditionally surrendered on May 8, 1945, U-281's fate was sealed. The following day, May 9, 1945, she surrendered at Kristiansand Sud, Norway, as part of the general capitulation of the Kriegsmarine. Like many other U-boats that surrendered at the war's end, U-281 was handed over to the Allies, who were keen to prevent German submarine technology from falling into the wrong hands. After her surrender, U-281 was taken to Loch Ryan, Scotland, where she was held along with dozens of other captured U-boats. The Allies had no interest in keeping most of these submarines operational, as newer technology had already rendered them obsolete. Instead, the decision was made to dispose of them under Operation Deadlight, an initiative to scuttle captured U-boats in the North Atlantic. On November 30, 1945, U-281 was towed out to sea and scuttled. Like more than 100 other U-boats destroyed in Operation Deadlight, she was sunk in deep waters, forever lost beneath the waves. Some of the U-boats were used for target practice before sinking, while others were simply allowed to drift before being sent to the ocean floor. Today, the wreck of U-281 lies undiscovered, a silent relic of one of the most significant naval conflicts in history. Though she did not achieve notable combat success, her story is representative of the broader struggle faced by German submariners during the later years of World War II. The men who served aboard her endured extreme hardships, living in tight, damp quarters with limited fresh air, often unsure whether they would survive each mission. The submarine service of the Kriegsmarine suffered some of the highest casualty rates of any branch of the German military, with nearly 75% of U-boat crews perishing during the war. The legacy of U-281, like that of many other U-boats, serves as a reminder of the brutal and unforgiving nature of submarine warfare. As technological advancements in sonar, radar, and aircraft patrols rendered U-boats increasingly vulnerable, the once dominant German submarine force was ultimately defeated. While U-281, the 1st of May, rest in obscurity beneath the ocean, her story remains part of the larger narrative of the Battle of the Atlantic and the relentless struggle for control of the seas during World War II.